Hello, everybody, and I'd like to just thank everybody for joining us in what will be the first of many in a series of webinars dedicated to our current and prospective MachineMetrics customers, on which we'll be discussing a range of topics from MachineMetrics product features to driving value with machine data and industrial IoT solutions, to case studies and success stories, all of which the goal is to help you and your company along your digital transformation roadmap. Our first will be entitled Increasing Uptime with Remote Machine Service, a feature on the MachineMetrics platform that we hope will be very useful to you all. A few quick housekeeping notes before we begin. My name is Graham, and I'm the Director of Marketing at MachineMetrics. While I am sad to say that Stacy isn't able to make it as my co-host, I'm equally excited to announce that my co-host will actually be none other than our co-founder and CEO, Bill Byther. So thanks for coming, for joining us, Bill.
Not a problem.
Before we get started, I just wanted to note a couple quick things. Firstly, questions throughout the webinar can be asked in the chat, in the Q&A area of Zoom. We have one of our team members, Matt Bruner. Thanks for joining us, Matt. And he'll be available the whole time to answer any questions that come up during the webinar. He'll also be picking out a select questions that I can answer or Bill can answer directly at the end of the presentation. This webinar is being recorded, and you will receive access to the recording via email and slides upon request at the end of the webinar. So just to quickly review the agenda for what we're trying to accomplish today, we're going to do a review of MachineMetrics. For many of you, that will be something that you're already quite familiar with, and for some of you, it'll be something new. We're going to dive into MachineMetrics Service capabilities, what it is and how it can help you. We're going to discuss the benefits of sharing your machines with your service providers and how it may help you enable faster, better service on your machines. Then we're going to dive into a live demo, and we're going to show you a use case of how this feature is able to help a customer dramatically with a problem they were having that they might not have been able to solve before. And we're going to review a couple key takeaways and have a brief Q&A. I guess, and one other really quick note is that the MachineMetrics Manufacturing Transformation Tour is in full swing. So as the team travels, we'll be bringing our solutions to the global stage. Some of our upcoming stops include EastTech, Able Machine Tool Open House, the Toyota Open House in Chicago, and Impact Manufacturing Summit also in Chicago. If you're planning on attending any of these, we'd love to have you, and feel free to reach out to our team and make an appointment, and we do hope to see you there. So for the quick review of who we are and what we're trying to accomplish, MachineMetrics is the industry's first AI-driven machine monitoring and predictive analytics platform designed specifically for discrete manufacturers. We're headquartered in Massachusetts, founded in 2014, and these are some of our customers on the right-hand side of the screen, and we work with customers anywhere from the small to medium job shops, anywhere up to some of the largest global manufacturers in the world. We like to think that solving the problems on the shop floor allowed us and enabled us to learn about the problems that you could fix and scale across 1, 10, 20, 500 different manufacturing locations. Right now, hundreds of manufacturers are using the MachineMetrics platform to measure and analyze performance of thousands of machines across their global factories. We did win Smart Manufacturing Solution of the Year for the past 2 years, and we're named a top 25 IoT startup from Forbes, a little bit of a humble brag. And what it all comes down to is the ability to pull data from machines. So MachineMetrics has a unique ability to plug and play and collect robust data from virtually any piece of discrete manufacturing equipment, modern or legacy, on the shop floor. and we utilize our software adapters that we built in-house that run on our edge gateway device, which you see in this image. This edge gateway most of our customers will use one of these to connect up to 50, 75 machines on the shop floor if they're all networked. Otherwise, you can use one for each machine, and they allow two things. One, they run our software adapters, allow us to pull data from the machine directly from the PLC if it's a modern machine, or we have the ability to also pull using digital I/O and sensors from any legacy machine as well. And this device acts as a security blanket for your machines while also ingesting, buffering, and securely sending the data to our virtual private multi-tenant cloud-based platform hosted by AWS. We can push that data through Ethernet, Wi-Fi, or cellular connectivity, which gives us a lot of various options. If your shop or your facilities are have different types of connectivity. Within our platform, the data is then aggregated, analyzed, and we feed it back to you, the manufacturer, in ways that help drive value all the way from the shop floor to the C-suite, enabling digital transformation through what we like to call the analytics journey. So to start, this data can be very valuable to a number of different consumers, and we like to say that the data can be consumed different ways along this journey. Where we usually start is what is happening, right, in the descriptive analytics phase, and what that looks like is baselining your machine utilization, right, and benchmarking your capacity, right. Some of the things that we do right off the bat is we'll oftentimes plug and play into a shop, and then we'll just collect data and understand, what is your current capacity utilization, and maybe even more importantly, how does that machining capacity stand relative to your machining type, or even in an industry vertical, right? So it's not just about stepping on the scale. But it's also about stepping on the scale relative and having that relativity to understand, well, if world class is 65%, for example, from the automotive sector, right? Then where do I stand relative to that benchmark, right? And within that descriptive analytics phase, we also look at what is happening right now on the shop floor. So we feed this data back in real-time dashboards that display what is happening in real time on the shop floor, and which all of which is focused on allowing organizations to learn from their what is happening and current and previous behaviors. But as we move along through the analytics journey, we start to focus more in on why is what is happening, right? And we start looking at the performance of your machines versus the availability, right? The components of OEE, right? And one of the ways that we do this is we mount HMI touchscreen interfaces through a magnetic mount right at the machine tool for operators to track the performance of jobs and provide additional context, such as downtime codes, to provide the full context of what is happening on that machine between the machine and the human. And then we can provide that data back to you in reports that analyze and optimize downtime, for example, identify bottlenecks so you can continuously improve, analyze job performance, including the components of OEE. And we can look at our job standards, right, as another opportunity for improvement. And whether it's a cycle time or a part goal or a setup time, you name it, MachineMetrics will take all of those, which we can export. We have the ability to integrate with any ERP system through APIs, and then we'll test all of those expectations. And we find massive rooms for improvement just by understanding what our expectations are, whether or not they're accurate, and altering those to reveal what oftentimes is tremendous amounts of hidden capacity within the shops that already exist. And just looking even deeper by integrating with any ERP, we can also provide performance reporting such as OEE, and looking at the other side of the puzzle. not just the performance side, right, which we can look at, through some of the descriptive analytics that I just showed you there. The next is looking at the availability of the machine. And oftentimes machines are not down because they weren't scheduled, but there are health problems and maintenance problems with the machines. And this is where real-time condition monitoring and remote diagnostics provides a significant level of value in understanding what is happening and why it is happening, right? So for any of these pieces of diagnostic data, we can create monitors which will track any of these alarms or errors or conditions off these machines, and create notification-based systems to let the right person know at the right time what is happening on that machine, and with the goal of learning and notifying when there are ways to either improve the machine's performance or potentially even warn you of a pending maintenance problem that is going on, so your team can take actions that may stop that from being a pervasive problem. Looking into the future, all of this data that we collect allows us to provide not only the highest level of insights back to our customers, but we also believe that this will lead us to be able to predict virtually any shop floor problem, and ideally implement solutions to these problems through automated workflows. That's a look under the cover in our roadmap into the future. Even the ability to deliver, say, an instruction, right, to the right person at the right time when a problem indeed does occur. Today, we're really focused on one use case of our platform, which is specifically dealing with the maintenance side of things and what happens when we have machine problems today. And many of you may do the majority of your maintenance in-house, and many of you may work with your service providers. What we found is it often tends to be a mix, and oftentimes we have customers that rely on the service providers to help them when machine problems are happening on the shop floor. But let's just look at today. And I want you to ask yourself, how you tend to manage these problems. Well, your machine has an issue, right, or goes into an alarm state. And let's say it's a problem that we can't figure out. And, we know the machine's in an alarm state, it's down, we're experiencing what appears to be a serious machine problem. We don't know why it happened. Sometimes we know, maybe what is that's actually happening, but we may not know the exact cause or reason. And it leaves us in a state of reactivity and fear that we need the machine to be fixed, and we need to make sure that we get a solution quickly, because every second that our machine is down that it's supposed to be performing, we're losing money, right? So you end up on the phone with your service provider, and tell me if this is not a common story that you experience. You end up on the phone with your service provider, and you're trying to explain to them, right, what is happening, right, on the machine. You may tell them, hey, this is the alarm that we're seeing. Hey, I can smell this, this or that. But what we've found, and we've talked to a lot of customers about this, is that troubleshooting over the phone rarely actually solves the problem. It tends to be, the next step tends to be you having to wait for an on-site visit to actually diagnose or fix the problem. And what happens with these on-site visits is A, it tends to cost you money, right? And B, oftentimes when they show up on site, because the problem hasn't been accurately diagnosed, they may not have the tools necessary to fix the problem, right now, right? They may have to say, well, we forgot this tool, or we don't have that part, so we're gonna have to order it. And all this time, your machine is down, right? Not making you money, right? And not producing, right? So these problems for many of our customers have led to, poor production and operations planning, late deliveries, dissatisfied customers due to these late deliveries, and thus a difficulty winning, future business if you're trying to prove yourself, say, to a tier 1 or an OEM as a supplier. So we asked ourselves, and we asked you this today, what if there was a way to get your machine up and running faster? What if your service provider could diagnose the problem right now when the problem is happening without you having to wait for them to come on site? What if together you could stop the problem before it happens in the first place, right? That's the goal. How do we eliminate the problems from happening? Well, we'd like to introduce a feature called MachineMetrics Service, right? Which is a feature that enables you to share your machines with your service providers. And really, Service acts as a diagnostic tool. You can better understand the health of your machines. You can enable your service team to resolve equipment problems faster and remotely. And in the future, the objective is to not only solve the problem when they happen, but to even prevent and even predict equipment failures so we can prescribe a solution to avoid these problems from happening in the first place. Right? And that really is the end goal for all manufacturers. And we're working towards that, and we're on the cutting edge of this type of technology. The good news for all of our current customers, this service feature is available right now to all MachineMetrics customers. And for those of you that do not have MachineMetrics, well, there's a good reason right there why you may want to sign up and start using our platform. But what I'm going to do now is dive a little bit deeper into the type of information that you can share. And then we're going to just quickly roll into a use case into why this might be valuable to you and how you can actually use MachineMetrics Service. So I'm going to do a quick handoff here to Bill, who's going to take over as presenter and show us a real world example of how this feature works and how it can work for you today.
Great. Thank you, Graham, for that description of MachineMetrics, and it was a good overview. So what I'm going to do today is really give you a fairly quick demonstration of how you can utilize this capability to essentially share your diagnostic data with your service provider and allow them to help you bring that machine up and running. So let me go ahead and I'm gonna share my screen. Give me just a moment here. You should be able to see my screen right now. Graham, can you confirm?
Confirmed, Bill.
All right. Excellent. So what you're seeing here, many of you that are on this call are existing customers and are likely using what I'd call like app.machinemetrics.com. Some of these new capabilities we're building in sort of in a separate user interface called App 2, and many of you have sort of gone there and seen what we have there, and this is where we're actually developing quite a bit in quite quickly in our product. And what you can see here is a demonstration of a few machines, and what you'll notice is that these machines are, we have pictures of the machines. We have these essentially these incidents that'll appear if for example anomaly is detected, or which can be configured if there's a particular alarm. What I'm going to show you here is how you actually would share a machine with a service provider. So let me go ahead and I'm going to open up this one here. This is looks like a robo drill. Now, when I open up the machine, you can see an overview on that machine. So there's no open incidents here. We actually have just a quick glimpse. You can see in the last 24 hours what that machine was up to. Green shows that it was active. Blue, it was inactive. And then we even have like a utilization chart. You can look at the last 24 hours by hour. We can even go to say the last 52 weeks, how that machine is operated. And here we have some upcoming maintenance that's due and recent alarms. And any of these you can drill in deeper to actually learn more. But I want to focus here on this is my machine and it's down, like what if there's a fault or a problem and I'm not sure how to fix it. Let's bring in our service provider to help fix this machine. So in the upper right here, you can see there's this picture of it's like a portrait human head. If you click on that, that's the sharing capabilities. And by clicking that, you're actually able to, I can see that, oh, I'm the owner of this machine. And then there's no service providers. So what I can do here is I can invite my service provider. So that might be somebody that that you already have a connection with. You will need to know their email address. or contact us and we can help identify that person. And so I'm going to put in here an email address that is already configured. Apologize for the, this isn't exactly a trade show, but I'm going to go ahead and actually send it to another account that I'm going to show so I can play the role of a service provider. So I'm going to go ahead and share this this machine. I can see that it's pending, and then jump to this email account, and it looks like I've already gotten this email where essentially it's notifying the service provider that I shared this machine, and that I, by accepting this, I'll have access to the real-time and historical machine diagnostic data. And so as a service provider, this might be something that's new. I'm not exactly sure what this is. It might be helpful for you to at least for the first time, to let them know that you're sharing the machine, and so that they can take a look to see what's happening. And so let's go ahead and as a service provider, I'm going to activate. And what this does is it's going to let's see here. Well, let me actually just log out really quick here. Let's see. This always happens in the demos, right? So I'm just going to log out. No, we'll try that again. Okay. I have to log out when I do this. Okay. Well, anyway, what I was going to just show here is I can accept it, and that machine would be shared. It looks like that's not functioning quite the way that I wanted for this demo, but I can essentially show you the same thing here. Let me go to the overview here. So when the service provider accepts that, they will have access to this same information that you're seeing here. And essentially, what they're able to see in this one machine that you shared is all the diagnostics. So I can view here the this is actually coming right from that FANUC control, and each control might have different information. Some machines have more than others, but you can see for example we're showing the feed overrides, the loads on the different axes, the tool number that's running. This is all real time, and this machine is idle at the moment. But by going to the timeline, you can actually pull up information in a time series graph. So right now, this machine it's actually running live, but it is showing that it's idle, and all of the loads will be updated. You can see even here's a path position, and if I add a metric, we can add really any metric that's available in those diagnostics. For example, let's go add like tool number, for example, and this will give us the tool number that's on that machine. And what I want to show next here is actually a real case that we experienced with a customer experience with MachineMetrics. And let me start out by saying that this is a customer that purchased a new machine that was unfamiliar to the shop. And they did have an operator that was running the second shift, and this operator experienced essentially a crash on the machine, and was unsure why. Now, because there was a pretty large commitment to this customer to deliver parts, he really didn't want to go wait until the next day to resolve this issue. So what he did is he already had this machine shared with a service provider, so he was able to call them and let them know that there was a problem on that machine. And the service provider was quickly able to pull up the link. Essentially, if you send the link to this timeline, your service provider can bring this up, or they can go directly to that point in time. And what you'll see here is in this case, you could, if I scroll down a little bit, the service provider was able to see, okay, interesting here. I can see when the machine went down. There was alarm 20, remove the spindle. What happened here? There was a load spike. It looks like right before that crash. And by scrolling down more, I can zoom in here. I can see that we were in auto mode, we went to manual mode. And then it looks like this is the controller mode, which you can add to the timeline, that the program was edited. The program was edited. The machine ran for a little while before it crashed. So this kind of indicated to the service provider that, okay, maybe something happened here. And, but because I'm able to see both the program and the subprogram, what actually happened here is that the operator accidentally edited the program, and instead of looping back to the main program, they essentially, it was a program error, a bug, and they looped back to the subprogram, and the actual spindle, expected there to be no material, and this is, of course, how crashes happen, and it crashed into the spindle. And the service provider was able to identify this pretty quickly. And this operator, who was relatively junior, really didn't have the confidence to get up and running again. But with the help of their provider, seeing exactly what happened on that machine, he was able to identify the problem in the program, and that problem was fixed, and they were able to bring the machine up and running. And that's now parts. They were able to actually meet their goal of producing the 100 or so pieces that were required for that day. And as you can imagine, if this capability wasn't there, that he would have either had to wait for somebody more experienced the next day coming into the shop, or maybe even wait for their service provider to come on site. And as you know, that can be quite expensive. It could cost $1,500 or $2,000, whatever that cost is for an on-site visit, and you're unlikely to receive that service the next day, especially if your service provider has to fly in. So what we're showing here is really a sort of a real-time view into that machine data to really provide that assistance in that first call resolution. And so what I want to show you a little bit more is that because this machine happens to be idle right now, I'm going to go to another machine here that is running, and just to give you a little bit more of an idea of what this looks like on a live machine. And here you can see there's a few things that are interesting. One, there's no alarms right now. You can see your cycles. In this case, we actually have an external a sensor, a current transducer that's really monitoring the load of that spindle. Really useful for if you're really looking at spindle wear, you can tie that into your tool number, or other problems that might occur. And this is just a live example of that data, how it's streaming. What you're seeing here, as a service provider, is essentially a real time. You're looking at maybe a delay of just a couple seconds, and you have full control over the sharing. So if you go back into that sharing button, you can revoke access. So you might want to leave that access to your service provider so that they can they have the ability to go back in time. But if you want to just give them access for a short period of time, you can. So that's an example there. Let me go in a little bit more. So just another machine here. We do have a relationship with this company here, and all their machines are configured with MachineMetrics. If I go to the diagnostics, we're able to go very deep. So if for example, if you have specific PMC or diagnostic parameters, we can actually add them right to the diagnostics here to really help your service provider understand the details right down to the point of where's the solenoid position when this machine failed. And this is just a couple examples of how you could use MachineMetrics for a couple of use cases of how you could use that to really bring your machines up and running faster. There's many specific other use cases. I'll give you another one. We had a problem where this is a machine like this one that was running, and the parts are actually getting stuck in the part catcher. And I guess the operator didn't realize this, and it was looking at the actual load of this machine every time that I think it was a Z load, every time that it would be pushed into the catcher, it was spiking. And that was another example of where, a phone call to service provider was able to identify the problem much faster than the operator could themselves. So that's just a quick overview of what this can actually provide yourselves. And again, all you need to do is go into your machine, click this button here, the sharing button, and then you can share that machine with your provider, and also revoke access if you decide that they don't need access, continuing access. So really, and just what this allows you to do is really provide the confidence that you have the support of your service provider, that you don't have to wait too long for them to come on site. And ultimately, what we're looking at providing is better uptime of your equipment. And I'm sure there's a lot more questions about this platform and the other capabilities that we offer. The notifications, the preventive maintenance and instructions, but I really wanted to focus this webinar just on this sharing capability. So I'll leave it there. I'll pass it back off to Graham to
Thanks, Bill.
finish off.
Thanks, guys. So I really appreciate your bring us through that, Bill. Just want to make sure everyone can hear me as I
we can hear you
back in. So some of the key takeaways, just again, like Bill said, we wanted to focus. What we really think is important is to focus some of these webinars on key features that we think can help you drive value. Some of obviously there are the performance and features that we're known and famous for, whether it's our real-time dashboards and HMI tablets. But as we continue to build more and more capabilities in the system, we want to help our customers and prospective customers have the ability to take advantage of these as they move along their analytics journey. So some of the key takeaways is, if you're a MachineMetrics customer, sharing machines with your service provider is both easy and safe. Your service team, if you allow them access, again, what we're sharing is diagnostic and descriptive data off these machines. So many of our customers opt to share their machines consistently with their service providers, and the top reasons there is that over time their service providers can actually provide them more insights on their machines, because in the end, what service providers want more than anything is not just to ding you for service, but in reality, it's to make sure that you get the most out of their machinery, right? So, and happy customers that do well with machines buy more machines. So they have a huge incentive to utilize this technology to help you do better. And using that, you can easily share your machine and help them monitor and resolve your problems remotely. And thus, for you, solving problems faster and saving money. Improving machine uptime. You can use this historical and real-time data to optimize the way that you maintain your machines. And in the future, we think that we'll break ground on predicting equipment failures before they actually happen. That's the objective of our webinar, keeping things short and sweet. We now want to just open up the webinar to any questions that we have along the way. I had seen a few, but I can give you guys a couple minutes to add some questions into the Q&A. For those of you who are MachineMetrics customers, if you don't see the call to action at the top of your production application to get into this side of MachineMetrics, feel free to talk to your customer success manager, and they'll be happy to walk you through that. While I'm waiting for some other questions to come in, I'll just start answering some of the ones that we were given through the Q&A. One of the questions that I got was specifically about MachineMetrics and the ability to push information directly back to the machine. And that's a really interesting and important question. I think as we all move along our digital transformation roadmap, it's going to be incredibly important to start automating workflows, right? So as we gain predictive notifications, or our system tells us, say that a cutting speed or a feed rate needs to be reset in order to avoid a spindle crash or a tool breakage. Our system has all of the data necessary to send and trigger those notifications, and is not something that most of our customers are willing to allow, which is that type of edge adaptation and pushing data back to the machine. But we know that in time, it will be the ultimate solution, and we look forward to being there to provide that capability when we're ready. I have a good question here about how a client that is concerned with network, VPN, and info going through the cloud. How do we respond to this?
Let me, yeah, I'll take that one, Graham.
Yeah, so, Bill, by all means.
Yeah, this is it's a pretty common question. I mean, for us to connect to machines, we are sending data to the cloud, but let me describe how that actually works in our edge device. So the edge device opens up a one-way outbound connection with the MachineMetrics cloud that is very secure. It actually, in the device itself, it protects the, so it separates the machine. So typically we'll pull data right from the control of the machine or additional sensors. That's a completely different connection. It's firewalled from the connection to the internet, which does go through your firewall. So often we have to work with our customers to make sure that we have just that one VPN connection that connects to the firewall. It runs an incredibly lightweight version of Linux that only runs our services. That's it. So there's really no ability to run anything else on this edge, and it's headless as well. You plug in a monitor, you're not going to see anything. So it's only designed to connect to the so using a secure token, a key that when that device is activated, it's only able to connect from that one machine on your network to the MachineMetrics cloud. And the again, the only way that we can send it is just one directional. Nothing can come outside and connect to this device. It only goes one directional. So that's really the. I hope that answers your question on the network and VPN. And if you have more questions, we have a lot of documentation on this. We also have a security engineer. That's his full-time job, is to ensure security of both data in the cloud and also from the edge. So that's that. Hopefully that answers that question there.
Yeah, great. Thank you for that.
So let's see.
I know that Justin. Oh, okay. I just said we had somebody who maybe had a question on there, but
yeah. Well, I see another one here that I'll take here. So a question is, you showed an additional sensor. That was a current sensor from the spindle, an example. What is the process for adding additional sensors? Is there additional cost? So if you already have the edge device that's inside the machine, it's a pretty low cost. We really, we're not looking to monetize any special proprietary sensors or edge hardware. So there's essentially we have an I/O module that plugs in through USB to our edge device. It can connect directly to the sensor. And I mean, total cost is, I think, $350 for that module plus the sensor. So it's a pretty inexpensive installation and a very easy installation.
But no ongoing cost to that solution, Bill?
No, there's no, I mean, the license that you purchased with MachineMetrics allows you to add additional sensors. So that's something that we encourage our customers to actually add themselves, or if we go on site, that's something that we can add to augment the machine data.
Bill, I got a couple other questions coming in so I'll just kind of feed them your way. A quick question was, does my service provider need to have a relationship with MachineMetrics in order to utilize this capability? Yeah, so the answer there is no. So you can really invite any service provider to have access. I apologize that demo didn't go as I thought. It actually, it's working fine now. But essentially when you share that machine to the service provider, they'll receive that email. They activate. They create an account. It's very easy. They create the account, and then with that, they have access to that single machine. So if they already have an account, they would just add that machine to their account, and they can see that that's coming from you, the customer.
and there's no additional cost for them. Essentially, they you already have a license in MachineMetrics, so there's no additional cost for the to the service provider.
Another couple of good ones. I know Marshall had a question out there for a while. I think it's actually a really important one. He's saying that we noticed this, actually why we created this product, but many machines currently have some sort of real-time connection to a service provider. But how does MachineMetrics really separate itself outside of runtime data or metrics percentages? That's from Marshall.
I guess I would like to ask some clarifying questions, but without that, I guess that I'm not seeing the question, but how does MachineMetrics differentiate from just collecting basic utilization data? Or maybe I'm not following the question here. All right, I'm reading it now. Okay. Oh, okay. I see. So the question is, you already have, as a customer, you already have your relationship with the service provider. What does this give you that that you don't already have? The answer really is real-time data. If the service provider doesn't have this connection, they're going to have to, over the phone, walk the operator through going into the control and pulling the information necessary. With that, it's your alarm history is going to be limited. It's very difficult to walk an operator through pulling out the detailed diagnostic parameters. And it can be, even with like a FaceTime experience, it's better, but it's nothing like having access to that data in real time. That data, if you allow it, you could give them some historical data, which would allow them to see patterns, things that you can look at. For example, buying a machine, that machine might have operated a certain way. You could take a look at how that machine operated a year ago compared to today, and maybe notice some issues with the machine. Maybe some components are wearing out, and that's the type of information that you're able to get because we're collecting hundreds of data points from that control and storing it so that you have that history.
We do have time for a couple more questions. Robert asks, does the Edge module interface with linear transducers?
Yeah, so the Edge module with the digital I/O, the USB plugin, will interface with any digital or analog sensor. So a linear transducer would provide an analog output, and that's something that we can consume that data in a pretty high frequency to both have that historically and display it live in that timeline view that I demonstrated. Great.
We do have a bunch more questions, but I do think that our objective was to get you out of here early. So with that, we will, every question that was asked will get an answer, I assure you. So we'll be sure to send those your way.
Well,
we do.
There's one last question here I could quickly answer. Do we support Siemens and Haas? We do. So yes. That's like the Siemens 840D, the Haas through a serial connection, and yeah. So we support pretty much any machine tool that exists, and modern machines will pull data right from the control. Older machines will often use some relays and sensors to pull data from those.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. And some exciting side notes for our next webinar, which will be in just a little bit over a month. It will be entitled Transformation from the Inside Out, featuring one of our partners and one of our customers. We're thankful to have Amazon Web Services, AWS, will be presenting with us at our next webinar, as well as our customer Fastenal. That will be June 13th at 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern time. I assure you that if you don't get emails from me, you'll get a lot of email reminders about this one as well. So you can sign up right now. You can check your email. We've already sent you an invitation, or you can go to machinemetrics.com/transformation-webinar. And we very much hope that you will join us for our future webinars. We'll have one every month moving forward, featuring partners, featuring customers, new features, new capabilities. We hope this was useful to you all. We'd love your feedback. We expect them to get even better from here. So thank you very much again for your time. And we hope you all have a lovely rest of your week.